Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sid,
Mike,
Frankie. For those of you that have been following our journey, we left our small farm in Southern California and just moved to a big farm in northern Mississippi.
that's not a fishtail either.
No, but with this new big change and new big adventures, we feel like we maybe need a new name.
Let's talk about what was the Crouch Ranch and how did it become that?
When Mike and I bought our first house, we bought a little bit further out of the city, but still a lot of restrictions. We couldn't have chickens, nothing like that. Well, I always knew that someday I wanted to be able to have chickens and raise a few animals like that, never knowing that I would enjoy it to the extent that I do, but I wanted to dabble in it a little bit. And when we found that property in Ramona and started the Crouch Ranch, we had no idea how much we were going to, I don't know, I can't take direction.
I'm going to hold this and you're going to talk.
It's probably a good idea.
Wow.
Multitask.
You can't task.
When we bought that place in Ramona, we had no idea how much we were really going to enjoy farming and expanding our knowledge and being so sustainable. You know, we really did love that place. So when we first started it, we had no idea, number one, that we were going to start a YouTube channel, and number two, that we were going to want to expand it the way that we did. You know, we started out with just a few chickens. Then since we had a pig pen, we got a pig and did our first pig. And it just kind of kept evolving. You know, he started growing his garden, building more and more garden boxes every year and expanding it. We started learning how to preserve our own stuff, and he started harvesting and preserving his own seeds. And we really got into that lifestyle of being self-sufficient and wanting to do more and more of it.
Started learning how to can things, so then we wanted to grow and raise more so that we could put them on the shelf.
We had a nice little poultry business. We were selling our pastured poultry and trading other things, and we really loved it. But we were really kind of in a spot where, you know, we were as big as we could get. So the Crouch Ranch became as big as we could make it. It was our poultry farm. It was raising, canning, and trading for different things that we couldn't grow or couldn't get or didn't have a good crop of. And it really was a place where we kind of, I guess, cut our teeth in some ways, where we learned a lot about a lot of things on a smaller scale. And it meant a lot to us. We were able to, you know, that time frame in Frankie's life, we moved there when she was about 5, and we left there this year. And, you know, those were a lot of her kind of formative years in a lot of ways, where she was really able to be involved and active, and she learned a lot about the gardening. She learned a lot about raising and taking care of the animals and processing them and where her food came from. And I feel like that was a lot of, for us, what the Crouch Ranch represented was sort of that beginning of dipping our toe in and learning some of what we were capable of and what we were good at and maybe what we needed to work on more.
Yeah, it was like an incubation chamber for who we're going to become one day, you know? And we didn't know it. We didn't realize it at the time. You know, like she said earlier, we just thought we were going to move outside of the city a little ways and get a few chickens. And, you know, yeah, it blossomed into really a great thing.
It really did. We found that we had a lot of limitations with only having 0.64 acres. Granted, we had access to a little bit of another pasture that was our neighbor's, but it still really limited what we could do. So we really had to think about our time frames of things, when we could do what, our butchering schedule, in order to kind of keep things rolling properly. With that small of a space, we could really only do everything on a very small scale, which, getting into it, we thought would be fine because we didn't realize how much we were going to love it. And it became a real issue for us because it really did limit us on the kinds of things that we could do and when we could do them.
The quantities of things that we could do also a challenge. So, you know, she mentioned earlier that we had a poultry business. Well, imagine trying to pasture raise chickens on 0.64 acres. It wasn't going to happen. So we had a gentleman's agreement with a neighbor that had a pasture that joined our property, and we were able to use a portion of that to pasture chickens on, you know, and that solved that problem for a little while. It wasn't a permanent long-term solve, but it was working. And then, you know, sheep. We dabbled with goats. We dabbled with sheep. Sid likes both. I like sheep more than goats. But, you know, she really wanted more. She wanted to have a herd. And, you know, I don't know how we were going to solve that at that place. We did the best we could. You know, we had a breeding pair of each, and, you know, she really enjoyed breeding the goats. We were limited. How are we going to have a herd? How are we going to have 20, 30, 50 sheep? It just wasn't going to happen on that property. And the other things that we really wanted to do, you know, I wanted to be able to grow enough vegetables to be able to put them up in whether freeze or canned, you know, to feed us for the year. Well, imagine 0.64 acres with a house on it and a pool on it and a pig pen and a sheep pen and a chicken coop and a turkey coop and a brooder, a walk-in brooder, and a garden. How big was that garden?
Yeah.
It was as big as I could make it. I felt like we were really successful at maximizing to the best of our ability what we had.
So this posed a problem for us. We were kind of bumping our heads on this ceiling, and there was only so much we could do there. So it was time to consider making a change.
Yeah. So there was a lot to consider at this point. Actually, a lot of factors that contributed to kind of making that decision. And that decision was, are we going to move? Are we going to expand? And if we're going to move, are we going to stay in California? And so that's where we really started weighing all of these things that were really impactful and huge. And it was a surreal moment when we kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, I think we're leaving. I don't think we're just leaving this house. I think we're leaving California.
So it was a hard decision. You know, I was born and raised in California. I had friends there that I'd had since I was in preschool, you know, and family. And it was a tough thing for me to think about leaving them. And then we had a really nice community that we lived in that we really liked in this little mountain farming town that was about as good as you can get in California, I think. And we loved our house.
We did. We
really did. When we bought that place, we said that was our forever home, that it was our dream home. We put a lot of work into it. You know, we built a pantry. We did all kinds of stuff to it to really make it fit us as best as we could. And the thought of leaving that was really hard for me to a point. I knew that the pros would outweigh the cons, but thinking about leaving some people and leaving that place that we loved and worked on so hard, it was a tough one. It was a tough one for me. That was definitely kind of in the negative category for me. Everything that you've heard about how expensive it is to leave California is true. We knew it was going to be astronomical to get out of there. That lovely exit tax that everybody talks about. You know, you can rent a U-Haul going west for about a third of the price as you can going east.
Right.
So we knew it was going to be pricey, and that was a factor. We were like, shoot, are we going to be able to like even do this?
So, and it's not just the cost of the actual cost in dollars of making that move, but think about when you have something established, right? I had my garden that I had built with all those raised boxes and, you know, the way I was doing things. We had, you know, she had her chicken coop and her flock well established, and the quail operation, and we had sheep and goats and things that it would have been unrealistic to try to move those across the country. So this overwhelming task of, or not really overwhelming, but really like scary thought of, you know, whatever we do, wherever we go, all of these things that we're doing that we love, that are the reasons that we want to move, we have to start them over.
That was definitely a rough one for me. I think, you know, he was able to take a lot of his seeds and things like that. Obviously having to leave the actual garden beds and things behind. But, you know, for me, having to leave a lot of my birds and sell off my livestock that I'd spent years with cultivating, raising, you know, that was hard for me to say goodbye to all of them. I'm not gonna lie. That part was a little tricky.
Well, and she slipped in a few birds.
I did.
We did haul a horse trailer with some geese and some peafowl in it.
Well, there were some that were just that was going to be a deal breaker for me.
And they're not even the ones that help contribute to the sustainable living. They're her pets.
Well, but I can get when I get babies, then I make the money.
Right.
So it's all right. It's okay.
So a couple other things that that played really hard into the consideration and ultimately the decision was California. You know, it's so regulated. The regulations are absurd. The permits that you need for this and the permits that you need for that and the extra taxes that you need to pay for this, and if you've got this many of this kind of animal on a property this size, and regulations all start out somewhere at some point as a good thing for some good reason, and then they just blow out of control in some areas, and that's what happened in California. California has turned into the state. It's not the state that it was when Ronald Reagan was president. I'm just going to say that. Between the regulations and the politics that, frankly, we are not in alignment with, that was just a huge, like, hey, if we're leaving, why don't we just leave? Like, all the way. Bye-bye.
So on top of all those regulations for just in general, but also being applied to small and large farms in California alike, you have the cost of living out there is pretty ridiculous. Basically, they're getting to the point where they're almost charging you to take a breath.
Right.
And so it's getting to the point where it's just, you know, you guys have all, I'm sure, heard the stories of the gas prices out there. We were at, you know, some places I heard were over $7. We were at about $6.58, I think, when we left per gallon, which is pretty dang high.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one because, you know, they always say, oh, it's that sunshine tax. Well, I gotta say, we've had almost as many sunny days, nice days here, I would say.
Since we got here.
Since we got here.
And we've had a lot more rain.
And we've had more rain, which I like too. We need that. That's why it's so green.
I mean, let me just show y'all something right now, okay?
I mean, yeah.
Since we're talking about that, we had a ton of rain this morning,
yeah.
And I want you to look at that beautiful sky behind me. I mean, you'd think that I photoshopped this, but I did not. We have patches of sunshine blowing in between storm clouds, and if anybody should be taxing you for the amazing weather, it's this great state of Mississippi, not California.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, California has its merits. It's got a lot of different, you know, you can be to the snow and you can be to the beach all within one day.
What if you don't like the beach?
I don't like the beach personally.
Right.
I never go to the beach.
I like this.
A pool. Yeah. So, but you know, it is what it is, and we never could have had this there.
Right.
You know, the limitations of what's available there. You can't, you know, you're buying a postage stamp on a piece of desert. You could never have green pastures like this. So obviously we feel like there's a lot of positives to being out here.
Right. And she just touched on, you know, the more affordable. When you're talking about how expensive everything is in California, the flip side of that is how affordable and reasonable those things are in other places, right?
Right.
And whether you're talking about a loaf of bread, or whether you're talking about a gallon of gas, or whether you're talking about an acre of land.
Well, and it's not just the reasonable land prices, it's the availability and what you can actually get for it. Like, we could never just go buy 45 acres of lush pasture and woods with ponds.
With water on it, yeah.
Like, we could never find that in California. Good luck.
Right, especially, I mean, in the area of California we were in, that didn't exist. We were in the high desert.
Yeah.
If you didn't water it, it didn't live.
And if you were in an area of California where that does exist, you're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars for land that you're still going to have to irrigate to some extent.
So that kind of brings me to the next, like, really positive thing about leaving California, specifically when you're coming to the South, and that is not just the, you know, the reasonable cost of land, but the quality of that land. This land is fertile, it's lush, it's thriving. It gets water from Mother Nature, you know, regularly, and it has hardwood trees that are dropping leaves and decomposing and soil building. It's healthy, thriving land. That doesn't exist where we were.
This bale of hay, for example, behind me, is from our land. It's
Right.
as tall as I am. The price of this big round bale of hay is what I would have paid for one little square bale in California.
And
Just to give you an example.
we didn't have land where we could grow hay and bale it and have our own hay, right? I mean, we literally had someone come cut all of our hay from all of these pastures, and they got like 66 bales of hay off of our property.
Yeah.
You know, and we get to keep some of that. In this case, we gave it all to them, but next season we get to keep some of that, and they get to take some of that. And it's like, hello, the land is taking care of us here as long as we take care of the land.
Of course, the number one reason why a lot of people want more space and want to be in a place that, you know, really appreciates the Second Amendment and things of that nature is freedom.
Right.
You have less like regulations here. If we want to build something on our property, we can just build something on our property.
Right.
In California, you couldn't do that.
Right.
There's a lot of restrictions, and there's things that we want to be able to do that we weren't able to do there, that here we have the freedom to do.
We have the freedom to enjoy our lives, and freedom leads to quality of life. You know, it really does.
It does.
It's not money that leads to quality of life. It's freedom to embrace the life that you want and to live it. I mean, we can teach our 12-year-old daughter to drive a vehicle out here on these pastures. People in California don't teach their 12-year-olds to drive a vehicle, but where I grew up in the Smoky Mountains, every 12-year-old had already been driving a tractor and was working the fields. We can teach her to shoot. We set up a little shooting range over here, and we graduated her from a BB gun to a .22 rifle just a few days ago. And, you know, it's August right now. I think there's a good chance she's deer hunting this year with me in November. You know, like she said, we can build structures. If we wanted to build something like an off-grid house for a guest house, or if we wanted to have somebody come out and drill a well, if we wanted to expand our pond or dig another pond, we just do it.
Yeah.
We just do it, and we will. We are going to enjoy the quality of life here. And, you know, some people think those coastal areas are an amazing quality of life, and it's different for everyone. I'm not saying that this life is for everyone. If you like living on the 12th floor of that downtown high rise right above the ballpark and paying $6,000 a month for a one-room condo is okay with you, and then you can't grow any plants, but you can walk downstairs and walk across to all the pubs that are right there, and you can take an Uber to the beach. If that's your life, then yeah, live the life that's going to get you what you want in that life. What we want is freedom, people. We want freedom. We want land. We want to raise animals, grow gardens, and be as self-sustaining as we can be. And
have a slower pace out here. People are friendlier. People are happier.
Right.
It's just a different environment. And
everybody waves at you when you're driving.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's just a different vibe. And I think people are happier here. Things are a little bit more slow. The things that are important are actually important out here.
Right.
So the focus is on those things versus on things that aren't as important that we tend to stress out about, like, you know, money and things and whatever. But out here, it's very different, and it's not for everybody.
I mean, you know what was interesting is I was a little stressed out about when were they going to cut the hay and when was it going to rain. And then, okay, so they got to cut the hay, then the hay's got to lay there for a couple of days and cure. And what if it rains while it's laying there? And I realized, hey, you know what? I'm actually worried about things that matter now, instead of the ridiculousness about my neighbor and their fence or their dog yipping because our yard's, you know, only 100 square feet each, and I can hear him yelling at his wife over there. And
let's talk about our old house, not about the last place.
Yeah. You know, that city life. The quality of life here is amazing. People, it's amazing.
It is.
here we are, guys, in a new place. And you know, this new place isn't only physically a new place. It's also, you know, mentally in our headspace, an entirely new place. That's why we feel like we need to change the name, because the Crouch Ranch will forever be what the Crouch Ranch was. That chapter of our lives where we were in that last house in Southern California, that was the Crouch Ranch. But you know, here we are in Mississippi, and everything is changing. You know, what projects we can do is changing. We can build a barn. We can have a project about the pond where we're cleaning the pond out and putting in aeration systems.
Building a tiny house.
Building a tiny house. That's a hot one on the list that we are gonna do.
A deer plot, you know.
I'm working on a deer plot now.
Yeah,
you know?
all kinds of stuff, things that we could never even dream of doing before at the old property. So, I mean, here we just don't have the limitations, and it does feel like a new start. We want to take everything that we learned doing TCR, everything that we loved about it, and we want to grow it bigger. We want to grow it better.
Right.
And we want to really mark that with how we're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it's new. It's not TCR anymore. It's bigger and it's better. And let's do this.
Don't do it. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it. I mean, when we bought this place, we called it our forever home. And we just loved it. We knew it the minute we saw it. We stalked it on the internet for like 6 months before we bought this place. We just knew it was ours. And we took what was here, which was already lovely, but needed some changes. And I'm really proud of all the things that we did here and all the things that we learned. I learned so much raising animals and incubating eggs and processing birds and raising different livestock animals, and we've gotten to teach our daughter that, and we have priceless memories here. It's sad, but I am excited about where we're going and what we're going to be doing. Very excited. I'm very grateful that we had this place. You know, it's a big change from having your friends right down the road to having them 1,700 miles away. That's gonna be hard for me. It's gonna be hard. And I don't want you guys to think that these tears mean that I regret this decision or that I'm sad about it. It's not that at all.
I'm really grateful. I really am. Things worked out for us for this place, and things really lined up for us to be able to sell this place and find a new wonderful home, and we've been very blessed.
This is the last of the packing boxes in the living room. That's staying for the new owners, but I've been going room by room and making sure everything's out.
Forget how to drive? Am I not following you? I thought I was behind you. Just pull out, and then I'll pull around you, and then Sid will pull out. We're waiting on Sid. I don't like your attitude.
Waiting on a woman.
5 points if you hit this dickhead in the blue shirt.
Dickhead heard that.
Hey, can you pull up so I can grab a couple waters out of the trailer? Mother trucker, everything's locked up. Why didn't you grab one before we went? Because everything was locked up.
Getting in, sailor?
Yeah, I think I'll join this Danish Caravan.
All right.
Will's been pulling the horse trailer with Sid's truck, and Frankie's been riding with him.
She's been sleeping for 4 days, basically.
And I think she's been sleeping most of the trip.
Yeah, she gets out to go potty and get ice cream at every stop, and then that's about it. So here we are. We're in the house. It's beautiful. I mean, I can point this camera anywhere, and it's just green and trees and beautiful, and it's all ours. And it's kind of amazing. It's kind of humbling that like we're here. Like we did it. We got here. Couldn't have done it without our buddies. It's just beautiful. Like I'm listening to the bugs and the birds, and it's really cool. Okay. Slow.
Right there is good. That's speed.
We thought long and hard about our name change, and we went back and forth, but in the beginning we kept referring to it as one name that just kept coming back up, and we tried not to marry ourselves to it because it was sort of like the first pancake. We didn't know if we should hang on to it or not.
Yeah, I even told her, I was like, stop thinking about that name for a minute. Let's really look for another name.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we try all the options that are realistic. And we reached out to the YouTube people and asked for ideas, and you guys came up with some really good ideas. But ultimately, the name that Sid came up with is what we kept coming back to. I mean, it's what felt right?
Yeah. So should we tell you guys what the name is and roll our new intro?
What do you think?
1 Mississippi.
2 Mississippi. 3 Mississippi.
hope you enjoy our new journey as much as we're going to enjoy our new journey and sharing it with you and all of the new adventures, the new builds, the new projects, and everything. We cannot wait to get started and really plan things out with your guys' help and show you our mistakes, our failures, and our triumphs. We look forward to it.
Let me just show you what's behind us right now. Oh, look at that.
We even have our own chauffeur.
Yeah, y'all want to know who's driving the truck? Let's go figure it out. Hey, look out the window. Can you see yourself on the camera? Okay, slow down. Don't brake too hard. You'll throw me out the truck. Roll the window down. Not that window. You even know what buttons are what? There you are.
Not the window buttons. There's like 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hi.
Have you got it in park?
No.
You just got your foot on the brake?
Yeah.
Hanging out the window?
Yeah.
Chilling like a villain?
Yeah.
Okay, driver, take us to Paris. Yeah, we've got our own chauffeur.
So we hope you guys like our new name. We hope you like our new surroundings, because we sure do. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Woo!
Break your dang neck.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is
Can we do jumping jacks?
a hold my beer moment. Whoa! She's gonna hit a. This is a pasture. There's bumps.
And it's raining.
Hey, we're not letting her drive across the creek.
No, yeah, we should probably stop.
Frankie, slow down.
Slow down. Stop.
I'm trying.
Whoa! Okay, put it in park.
Oh, you told me.
Put it in park.
You told me to slow down.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh boy.